This 2025 WNBA season has been one for the history books for the Indiana Fever, bringing in record crowds and national attention. The team's energy and never-give-up attitude have made them the talk of the league. Sophie Cunningham, known for being tough and a great leader, has been a driving force. She's not just a scorer, she's the team's emotional anchor. But with the spotlight comes pressure, and the Fever have faced their share of challenges. The intensity of the season has sparked talks about player safety as games get more physical. Every play matters, and every injury is a big deal. This all came to a head during a crucial game against the Connecticutsun, when one moment changed everything. The game between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticutsun that night was super intense. The arena felt hot and full of pressure. Both teams played their hardest, using all their plans and strength to fight for every point on the scoreboard. Every loose ball was fought for with so much energy. The players weren't afraid to dive to the floor to keep their team's chances alive. You could really feel how intense the game was everywhere on the court. But in the second quarter, something big happened. Bria Hartley from Connecticut lost control of the ball when she tried to get past the defense. Then she accidentally ran into Sophie Cunningham's right leg, who was playing defense. That hit made Cunningham's knee bend in a really bad way. She fell right to the floor, holding back a lot of pain, and her sad scream made the whole arena go quiet. Medical staff quickly ran to the middle of the court. Cunningham was holding her knee and couldn't stand up. The whole game stopped. The players and fans were quiet, realizing how serious Cunningham's injury was. With help from her teammates and the medical team, Cunningham was finally carried off the court. Her face showed pain and disappointment, and the season she was having now had a big question mark over it. The medical team set up an MRI for the next day right away. But from Cunningham's face and the team's reaction, the damage to her knee was already clear and worrying. For the Indiana Fever, losing Cunningham meant losing one of their main leaders at the most important time of the season. The team had to quickly figure out how to do well without her on the court. Meanwhile, in the stands, Cunningham's family looked very upset. They could only watch with worry and frustration, hoping this injury wasn't the end of Sophie's journey this season. This incident also quickly caused a big argument between the coaches and referees. It also brought back the idea of how important player safety is in such a tough competition. One incident, one moment on the court, and the story of the whole season changed just like that. Now all eyes are on Cunningham's future and how her team will play without their star. The Cunningham family didn't stay quiet. Her sister Lindsay called out the WNBA on X, demanding better refereeing and player protection. Maybe focus less on finding players and more on hiring refs who can protect your athletes, she wrote. The post really hit home for fans and players. Sophie's mom Paula also vented her anger online, pointing out Hartley's history of careless play. Their anger showed a growing belief that the league's physical play was out of control and the referees weren't doing enough. The family's outcry started a bigger conversation about safety and accountability in the WNBA. Lindsay's frustration echoed Sophie's own struggles with the league. Throughout the season, Cunningham had been fined for speaking out against how the games were being called on her podcast and social media. She argued that missed calls put players in danger and changed the game. Even with the fines, she kept speaking her mind, demanding fairness and safety. Her family saw her injury as a direct result of the league not dealing with these problems. The incident felt like a painful and expected outcome of warnings that were ignored. Cunningham's fight for better officiating suddenly became personal and public. The Fever's fan base, already frustrated with rough play against stars like Caitlin Clark, saw Cunningham's injury as part of a bigger problem. All season long, fans and analysts argued that officials were letting too much uncontrolled aggression slide. Hard fouls and missed calls became the norm, not the exception. Hartley's involvement in a past incident just added fuel to the fire. Coaches and players voiced their worries, being careful of league fines. The talk about the officiating overshadowed the Fever's achievements on the court. Calls for better training and accountability for referees grew louder than ever. Cunningham's injury was just the latest punch to the Fever. The team had already lost Caitlin Clark to a groin injury and 2 more guards to season-ending injuries. Roster depth was tested as new players were signed just to compete. Cunningham's absence left another hole in the lineup, forcing coach Christy Sides to improvise. The Fever's playoff hopes now rested on resilience and adaptability. Every game became a test of will and teamwork. The team's fight wasn't just against opponents, it was against relentless adversity. After Cunningham's injury, many thought the Indiana Fever would lose their fighting spirit. The injury was not just a physical blow, but a mental one for the team too. But instead of giving up, the players showed amazing determination. They cheered each other on, refusing to let one incident define their season. Every player on the court knew they had to step up, not just for themselves, but also for their injured teammate. Trailing far behind on the scoreboard, the pressure grew. But in the middle of that pressure, the Fever found new strength. They made the biggest comeback in franchise history, turning the game around and forcing it into overtime. Every second felt tense, but they stayed focused and believed in the process. This amazing effort was truly a team effort. Not only did the main stars shine, but also unexpected heroes showed up in key moments. They proved that big wins are not just decided by one person, but by how well everyone works together and trusts each other. Overtime was the most exciting part. Every point they scored felt so important. With the momentum they had built, the Indiana Fever finally secured a dramatic 99-93 victory. The cheers from the crowd and hugs between players marked this historic moment. This win was clearly more than just a number in the standings. It was proof of their strong hearts, never-give-up spirit, and determination to keep fighting even when things were tough. The players showed that they were playing not just to win, but to prove something to themselves and everyone who doubted them. Even without their main star, the Fever were still able to compete against the best teams in the league. They never lost confidence, and every player took on an important role in the game. This proves that a team's strength isn't just in one person, but in all the members supporting each other. This win was also an emotional release, not just for the players, but also for the loyal fans who always supported them in every game. The atmosphere in the stadium was full of joy and pride for their favorite team's fight. Moments like these show how important toughness and togetherness are in a team. The Fever showed that by trusting and supporting each other, they can get through any challenge, no matter how tough. The players also didn't forget to honor their injured teammate. They wore special gear and played with extra spirit, as if to say that their fight was for all team members, both those on the court and those working to recover. Facing all the difficulties, the Indiana Fever finally found their true identity. A team that's hard to beat, always bounces back, and is ready to write new history in the WNBA. The Fever's dramatic win was huge, pushing them to 7th place in the standings and keeping their playoff hopes alive. It showed they could hang tough, even with a thin roster. For the Connecticutsun, that loss ended their playoff dreams, dropping them to the league's worst record. The game marked a turning point, one team moving forward, the other having to regroup for next season. The Fever's toughness became their trademark. The Sun, meanwhile, faced a long off-season full of questions. One game, two very different futures. Cunningham's injury and the Fever's reaction highlight something super important: player safety. In every game, there's always a risk of getting hurt. Moments like this remind us that even with all the competition and fighting spirit, the health of the athletes has to be the top priority. Not just for the team, but for the league and all the fans, player safety is a basic rule that we can't ignore. The WNBA growing means new fans and new responsibilities. With more eyes on the league, people expect higher standards for safety and fairness. Every game is now in the spotlight, not just for fun, but also for protecting the players who inspire so many people. Good and fair refereeing is super important to protect athletes and the game's honesty. Good and fair calls from the referee can stop dangerous things from happening and make sure every player is treated the same on the court. Without good oversight, the risk of injuries and arguments will get bigger. The league needs to put money into better training for referees and listen to what the players say. By making the training and review system stronger, the WNBA can make refereeing better and create a safer place. Listening to the players is also important because they are the ones who feel the effects of every decision on the court the most. The Fever season is a good example of being tough, but it's also a warning. This team has shown amazing fighting spirit even when things are hard, but the things that happened remind us that the protection system needs to keep getting better. Being tough shouldn't be an excuse to ignore safety. The talk that came from this event is a call for the WNBA to do something. Public talks, fan reactions, and media attention show that change is needed now, not later. The league needs to act with real steps for a better future. Protecting players makes sure the sport has a future and honors the people who make it great. Every step to make things safer is a way of showing thanks for the hard work and dedication of the athletes who have inspired new generations. The focus needs to stay on the game and the amazing women who play it. By promising to keep players safe and fair, the WNBA can keep growing as a league that not only entertains, but also sets an example for protecting athletes and true sportsmanship.